Flight Wings Aviation is an organization whose sole purpose is to inspire and equip the next generation of aviators. We achieve this by offering educational aviation seminars and tours to high school students. Our media channel, we provide our audience with relevant information on aviation filled through panel discussions, interviews with aviation professionals. We offer high school students the Junior Aviator course to broaden their understanding of aviation as well as increase their chances of getting into top aviation schools. We also offer Aviation Refresher and Advanced course on aviation topics. All our courses are carefully designed by aviation experts with international aviation qualifications in a wide range of aviation disciplines. The courses are designed to equip aviators with modern and relevant skills applicable in today's aviation world. Inspire, equip, empower, Flight Wings Aviation.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Big Sky special episode of the International Aviation, Zimbabwe Aviation Day, where we're celebrating the industry, the tough times, the amazing times we've had over the year, celebrating the aviators that have been keeping our skies safe for the whole year. And today, we have a special episode where we're discussing the Zimbabwean aviation industry. And I'm joined by three amazing aviators, all based in different parts of the world. I'm going to start with the one to my left or right, depending with your orientation of your screens, Ms. Nyasha Manika. She is the co-founder of African Leaders in Aviation. She's based in South Africa. She's a commercial pilot. She's Zimbabwean as well. And she's insights into aviation industry. Down on the bottom, we have Mr. Ronald Ziffer. He is an aviation management graduate, also studying tourism, and also is a Zimbabwean. He's based in Cyprus, and also will be giving us his insights into the aviation industry, having also had a bit of working within the industry. So we definitely are going to benefit from what he has to offer us today. Then last but not least, we have Mr. Bevan, an aeronautical engineer. Also an aircraft maintenance engineer, I should say. And if you remember very well, when Season 2 started, he's the one that started the Big Sky Season 2 on a bang with one thing we're also going to talk about today, generational thinking. I'll never forget the statement. And he's going to help us understand where us as Zimbabweans are going wrong in the industry and how we can do better and how, as young people, we can improve our industry so that, we can compete with the big industries out there. There's nothing stopping us. So today we're going to be discussing all those and see how we as Zimbabweans can help each other shape the future of our aviation industry. And of course, my name is Gonzake Machaka. I am the co-founder of Flight Wings Aviation, and I am the director as well. And I'm going to be hosting today's show. I know it's a bit weird today because they're used to two certain people hosting the show, but today I am going to be doing that. So I'm just going to ask everybody to greet the viewers. I'll start with Nyasha.
Thank you so much, Ngoni, for putting this together. It's when I received the invitation, I was like, wow, this is awesome. This is exactly what we need for such a time like this. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here as well. It's an honor to meet my co-panelists as well as the viewers at home. I hope you're going to enjoy this. If you have any questions, please throw them in. Anything you'd like us to discuss, address. We are the youth. Let's grow together. Thank you, Ngoni.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ronald, it's your turn.
Thank you very much, Ngoni. As Ngoni has said, my name is Ronald Zifa, and I'm an aviation management graduate. And I'm pleased to say I'm very thankful. Ngoni, thank you very much for inviting me here, and I'm looking forward to the discussion. Thank you.
Awesome. Mr. Bevan, your turn. As usual, I'm sure you're used to this. This is your second time round. So go ahead.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Bevin. I'm an aircraft maintenance engineer, and now I'm studying aeronautical engineering at the University of Zimbabwe. Nice to meet everyone, my co-panelists, and we hope that we are going to have an interactive and informational session together. If you have any questions, like what Nyasha said, you can just ask.
Definitely. If you have any questions or contributions, that's what our live chat box is for. Feel free to comment, and we'll try by all means to answer as many questions as we can. So today's discussion, the Zimbabwean aviation industry. It's a big industry. There's so many things going on, and we just have an hour to discuss that. So we hope we can talk about as much as we can so that we can help the viewers and as well as help the industry. Just to start off, the industry, there's so many misconceptions that are going on about our industry, so many questions. There's a lot of updates out there that will be, commenting certain comments. And today we just want to iron out certain things, talk about certain issues, and see where our industry is going, where we've been from, and why we're in the state that we are in. So I just want to know from my guests, what's your overview of the Zimbabwean aviation industry? Because everyone seems to have their own picture of what's going on. So I'm going to start with Nyasha. What's going on in Zimbabwe?
Zimbabwean aviation industry, I think, okay, it has a lot of potential that can be tapped into. There's so many small airports that are around the country, and the human capital, it's also there. Zimbabweans are very intelligent, but now we are scattered all over the place because people are looking for more opportunities and all. I think this just goes back to when the economy started declining back in about 2008-07, because I actually started my training at Charles Prince Airport in 2007, but I was forced to leave the country because at that time there were fuel shortages, and at some point we had to wait 5 months before we could, go on for a flight lesson. So we were forced to actually move. The intention was to do the flight training at Charles Prince Airport, finish, go and fly for Air Zimbabwe. At that time, pilots at Air Zimbabwe starting salary was about $3,300. Who would have left Zim? But due to the economic instability, people were forced to leave, relocate, and all. And from there, people are now just scattered everywhere. But there's a lot of potential. There's so many small airports in Zimbabwe that if they're opened, I feel like there are lots of jobs that can come from it, not just pilots, but ground staff, gate agents, the whole sector itself. It can actually be a touristic country like UAE and all. There's just so much. There's tourism. There's a lot. And I was actually seeing that there are flights that are going to Mutare, that's a start. But like you were saying, the negative comments that come out, you actually see on the comments, some people can be critical of those small things. So I feel like it's economic. The human capital is all over. We're all over the place. Then us ourselves, we're a bit negative. We don't believe in ourselves. If someone puts together a nice project like that, flying to Mtare, or we find people passing negative comments, instead of us as individuals supporting each other, a platform like this, we're trying to inspire, empower other people, but you can find other people, Zimbabweans again, being critical of such things. So I feel like us ourselves as well, we need to sort ourselves out.
Awesome. I was just hoping you don't preempt it too much, but thank you for giving an extensive overview of your view of what's going on in Zimbabwe. Mr. What's going on in your country?
Sorry. Hello. So I can't hear you, Ngoni.
Can you hear me now?
Oh yeah, now I can.
Okay, I was asking Mr. Ronald, what's your overview of what's happening in Zimbabwe?
Oh, okay. Sorry. Like Nyasha said, the Zimbabwean aviation industry has a lot of potential, like huge potential, a lot of untapped areas. But as we all know, the aviation industry is already a difficult industry, even in the countries with the best economies and stuff. And looking at our own country with terrible economy, you can understand why the industry is where it's at right now, which is not good. But I believe if we have like the right leadership up there and people who are willing, like the young aviators who we see on this show from all over the world, if things were different and everyone would come together, I can assure you the industry would change and go in the right direction. That's my view on that.
All right, awesome. I guess we're going to be talking so much on those points that you guys are laying out right there, giving us a foundation of what we're going to be talking about today. Mr. Bevan, you have worked in the Zimbabwean aviation industry, I think the longest on all of us here. You have had the exposure of being in there. What's the overview? What's happening in the industry?
Okay, like my co-panelists are saying, I see a lot of potential energy in the aviation industry, our Zimbabwean aviation industry. But I don't know why we are not tapping into that potential energy and make use of it. Because from an engineering perspective, we have the manpower, we have the knowledge, like the human capital, like what Nyasha was saying. Everything is there, but I think there is this thought that the aviation industry is a luxury in Zimbabwe. So we don't have stakeholders coming into the aviation industry, investing in machinery, investing in new aircraft and stuff like that, such that the aviation industry reaches its fullest potential. Because at the moment, there is so much potential in this industry. There are people with very good ideas in the industry, but all those ideas from the engineering perspective, they are not being realized. Why? Because at the moment we can talk about resources like equipment and also the aircraft, new aircraft, modern aircraft, and all that. So I can just see potential, but the potential is not being tapped into to its fullest capacity. So that's my general overview of the Zimbabwean aviation industry. I just see potential everywhere.
I totally agree with the three of you. The one thing you all have mentioned is the amount of potential our industry does have, and seemingly it not being utilized or it not being tapped into. And we're just going to discuss and see why that is the case and how, because at the end of the day, we just want to be pointing fingers saying, no, this is what's happening, this is what's wrong with the industry. But we also want to give solutions. We also want to give ideas of how can things be turned around? How can we tap into that potential? So now, if we look back at the Zimbabwean industry, it is one of those industries whereby, if we go back a couple of decades, it was the star of Southern Africa, if you can put it that way. You know, all the major aircrafts, they were launched here in Zimbabwe. We can talk of the Concorde era, you know, we can talk of we were at the top. So my question is, where did that all go wrong? You know, because post-independence, we still were at the top. How did things crumble to the state that they seem to be at the moment? Mr. Ronald.
The simple answer, Ngoni, is mismanagement of things. When I was doing my internship, I did my internship at handling services, national handling services at ASA. It's Robert Gabriel, sorry. One of the things that I noticed was people who were in charge or people working there, people were not really enthusiastic to achieve much in the industry. Like, there are people who are just working, people who are not interested really in seeing something develop. You know, they're just trying to maintain what they were given, and they're not trying to improve anything. So I believe mismanagement is where we went wrong, and we have people who are not passionate about aviation. That's my belief, as well as the economy, you know, as it plays like a huge part in the aviation industry. So I believe mismanagement and the economy are the biggest factors of why the industry went down.
All right, Mr. Bevin, what's your take?
It's a good thing that we have a pilot and a manager as part of the panelists. So I'll just give my view on the engineering aspect of things. So I think if we look at the history of Zimbabwean aviation industry, I think we can't talk about the Zimbabwean aviation industry without talking about Air Zimbabwe. So if we look at pre-independence, the pre-independence era, like before we attained independence, when it was still Air Rhodesia, Zimbabwe, it was Air Rhodesia then. It was under economic sanctions. Then it couldn't operate because a lot of airports were closed off to Air Rhodesia. Then we attained independence, and then everything opened up, right? And we also got new aircraft from the Viscount. We had, like, I think we had about 10 Viscount aircraft and Boeing 707. We attained, we managed to buy Boeing 737s and Boeing 767 for the long haul flights. We managed to open new routes. We could go to Athens, we could go to London, we could go like all over the world. But when we were going towards 1990, I think we fell into the same trap. Economically, the economy started to crumble, and then I think we started getting more economic sanctions. And then that, from the engineering perspective, it means that you're not going to acquire parts, like spare parts, from the countries where you used to acquire from, and you're not going to get new machinery because it's going to be difficult for you because some countries have closed off trading with you. And also, you can't buy new aircraft, basically. So I think that's when everything went wrong again, when we started facing economic challenges. And part of that, which is due to the economic sanctions. Because as for me, I can't speak on the management side. I will just speak about something that I know. So from the engineering side, yes, we didn't have spare parts. You know, spare parts became scarce. Like it became like for you to acquire a part, probably you had to go through a lot of processes because of the sanctions. So obviously it delays productivity, it delays service, and at the end of the day, we will be canceling flights. you'll be delaying flights, and people generally you lose the market, you lose the people you who used to trust in you to deliver for them. So from the engineering perspective, that's all I have to say. Like, that's when we went wrong.
Awesome. So here, I think we're starting to get a picture of how things ended up the way that they are today. Ms. Nyasha, where did the country go wrong? Where did the industry turn from, that gold star of the region to the state it is today? When did we make that turn?
As both of them have mentioned, I guess I'm probably repeating, but yeah, I think when we started at some point as well, when we started changing currencies, because most things in aviation, they would need a strong currency that backs it up, to import, to buy parts, to even when you're just the market itself, it would need a proper currency, right? That at some point, as well as us, I go back to us being negative amongst ourselves, because an industry like aviation as well, it's also backed by our own confidence in it. If people are all to say, I'm not going to fly with that airline, they cancel a lot, as has been said, or they're not reliable. I have a meeting, I have to be back for this, but this is not, it's going to be happening. So it's a build-up of events that have just happened economically, confidence, negative talk, and that it's just been going on to the point where that rope just broke loose and everything is just haywire, and the policies that have been there have not been supporting the industry. As Ronald mentioned, the passion itself, that fire amongst the people who are in the positions is lacking as well. Because if you really love your dog or something, you're going to make sure it's well fed, it's well trimmed, it's looked after and all. But if you just let it be because you can just get your salary on the 25th and you just don't care. And another thing is a lack of exposure, because like Ronald's been to Cyprus, you yourself, Bevan, you have traveled, you've maybe had to transit through other airports. You've seen what's there. You've gone to that other side. It's like a book. You go through one chapter, the next chapter, your imagination opens, it expands. So now the thing that's actually causing us to be so thirsty and hungry now is because we've seen what can be. We've seen more. So now if I'm in a position and I've only read one chapter of the book, you can't tell me about chapter 2, 3, 4. I don't know it. I can't imagine it. I can't visualize it because I've never seen it. So that the lack of exposure as well has just causes things to crumble.
Also, me being an airline and airport operations management specialist, the first thing that comes to me when I'm hearing all these things you're talking about is the Swiss cheese model. Like, there's so many holes that have been poked into this cheese that they have just aligned. It might be small, but then they've just somehow aligned, and we found ourselves in such a situation, because like Ronald was saying, that fire, you expect it. I remember the first time I got into the Zimbabwe industry, or got the opportunity to be in the industry. I was in my second year and I was just here for a summer internship, right? And I had more fire than most people I was with. And I'm asking myself, wait, how am I so optimistic about our aviation industry that it can go somewhere whilst people that are working every day have given up? Like, they're just used to, well, this is the way it is. There's nothing we can do about it. But there's so much potential we have. You mentioned earlier about us being one of the major tourist destinations in the region, right?
Yes.
We can tap into that, but there's a certain way it needs to be done, So that's going to lead us into our next question, where it's kind of mind-boggling how countries seem not to be working together. What do I mean by this? We have a goal. We have to promote tourism currently for the past 2 years to enhance our tourism industry, right? But aviation, tourism and aviation go hand in hand. You can't separate the two, right? Friends Aviation earlier this year, we did a survey just to check how the general population in Zimbabwe is reacting to aviation and tourism. A great majority, almost 99%, will still go for holiday but bypass air travel, right? We are now in a situation whereby it's either or. You can have both. What's going on? How come we cannot policies, or what's the hindrances that's stopping those policies that have to combine the two so that they help each other? Because if there's more air in the country, our tourist destinations are right. If the development within the country is able to fly, that means we'll be able to access our tourist destinations. Because to be honest, it's a few people who can do that 8-hour drive to Victoria Falls. You know, someone might be like, I just want to do an hour, 30 minutes and be there and enjoy myself, than drive myself for 8 hours. But they're now in a situation where they're like, okay, I'd rather drive than take air travel. At the end of the day, air travel is kind of being sabotaged. What could be the reason these two ministries are not seemingly working together? I'll start with Bevan.
Okay. Again, I would reiterate. I would just, answer from the
Sorry, let me
engineering
just
side.
interject. Sorry on that one. This one you can talk from your own personal background, not as an engineer, but you love to travel. Are you willing to pay $150 one way to Victoria Falls? Are you willing to do that?
Okay. I think personally, I would, because I now understand that the aviation industry, like when you're talking about flying, it's not a luxury. It's a basic need for every economy, and it's a basic need for everyone. You need to fly at some point. So personally, I would. I think you were asking. Sorry, I need to really get it clear. You were asking how the ministry is not working with the aviation industry, right?
Yes. How the two ministries are not having policies that support both in order to increase the demand. Right now, it's seemingly one way.
Okay. Personally, I think right now, I think probably starting from 2020, there have been efforts to make sure that the Ministry of Transport supports the aviation industry through the refurbishment of airports and aerodromes. We had the Joshua Nkomo Airport being refurbished. We had the Vic Falls Airport. Right now we have the Harare International, and now we have a lot of aerodromes, like what Nyasha said. Like we now have flights to Mutare, meaning that there were works that were done at a certain airport in Mutare, right, so that aircraft can land. So now I'm seeing some action. I'm seeing the ministry working with the aviation industry to promote tourism, to promote, we should start with the local tourism, like we now have flights to Mutare. Yes, so if people gain the confidence, if people gain, if we have enough marketing to tell people that, you know what, you can fly to Mutare, it's fine. It's not something that is very luxurious. You can do it. It's all about marketing now, because the efforts are already underway. And I think right now the two ministries working together to make sure that the tourism is boosted, and we can now focus probably on the tourism sector. We have the Zimbabwe national cricket team, the Chevrons. They put on jerseys with a Visit Zimbabwe brand on it. You know, they are trying to tell people out there to say, guys, you can come to Zimbabwe, you can visit Zimbabwe, and the airports are there, everything is fine. And if you say that something is lacking, we are working on it. Look, we are working on the Harare International Airport. Things are going to be okay. Visit Zimbabwe. So right now I can say that there's been action from my own personal view. From what I'm seeing, there's been action, and I think I can commend the government for doing what they are doing, like the Minister of Transport, because I think this is going to see the evolution of the aviation industry, the blooming of the aviation industry, and the influx of a lot of airlines. And you can see right now, we now have Qatar flying into Zimbabwe. It's because the ministry is doing all it can to make sure that the aviation industry and the tourism sector, they are working together to make sure that when tourists come in Zimbabwe, they are going to land at international standard airports and aerodromes.
Okay, this is a comment that's coming from Mr. Obet Mazingi. I don't know if this is Captain Obet. He's saying, I think as Zimbabwe, we need to develop a domestic network. To some of the smaller towns, we need to remove the thinking that you need to be reasonably well off to fly.
Exactly.
You need the local population to think of getting on an aircraft as they think of getting on a bus or a train, etc.
Yes.
I flew in Ethiopia, and the normal ordinary person could fly right down to the low-income people. It was made affordable for the ordinary person. I think this statement from Mr. Obet kind of like summarizes where we're trying to get to. Because at the end of the day, for example, Nyasha brought up the issue of the new route to Mutare, right? By City Fly Air. It's costing $90 plus for that flight. That flight is less than 30 minutes, if I'm not mistaken. Right? It's a short nautical route. And then we look at departure and arrival airport. Their expense is quite low. The aircraft being used does not cost that much to operate. The biggest cost will probably be the human factor and as well as the fuel. But then how do we justify $90 for someone who wants to come from Mutaro who can pay $15 or $10 and tell that person to fly? How is that making sense? This is where we are like, is this strategy misguided, or what's going on? Ms. Nyasha.
I was actually thinking, like Mr. Obet has said, like, yeah, that's true. People, I think we need to be educated to educate the public as well, because we've gone for so long with no air travel that it's something new to most of the people. So people actually need to be educated with the marketing, what air travel is about, how convenient it is and all. And I think the policymakers also need to maybe subsidize the fuel and even the local tax for domestic flights. At least it should at least be reasonable so that the operators themselves can also bring the cost down. The cost may be so high because of the fuel cost, the tax, which they themselves need to pay, the fuel cost, and also their operational overheads as well, which is why the pricing may be that high. So if maybe the policymakers could help them, maybe subsidize in a way, and also educating the general public about this way of traveling so people can actually use it. It's more convenient, it's faster, it's easy. You know?
Exactly.
So some education has to go to encouraging the public. We need to encourage the public, for it to be normal to fly. I and Ronald, I'm sure Ms. in South Africa, flying is an everyday thing, It's not something you have to plan about. It's something people can be like, oh, well, today I want to fly. I want to go to this certain place, without having to worry much. Mr. Brian Manzimba here is saying the problem in Zimbabwe is airport taxes are so high, and those tickets are going for 90 to Mutare. But then here's my question, following up on Mr. Brian's comment there is, why are we taxing our own that much? Because I was checking the Emirates, the Ethiopians, the KQs, the Qatars, a ticket from Harare to Lusaka cost you $98 with Qatar. right? This is a foreign airline operating in 2 foreign countries, right? Operating a bigger aircraft, to put that as well. Their margins of how much they pay their people is higher. Why is it cheap for them to operate? Yes, yet it's expensive for on to operate within our market. Are we killing our own airlines? That's probably why Air Zimbabwe is not rising from the ashes. What's going on? How is that contributing to them being one of the most expensive domestic travel places in the world? Mr. Ronald.
Right. Okay. I was reading this article about Southwest Airlines. They were saying in order for them to make a profit, they have to have a load factor of about, I think it was above 70, though, about 73, 75%. So if you're calculating the load factor, it has to do with filling the number of seats and the number of available seats. So what, I don't know who was saying it, but marketing is definitely missing in our airlines, because the reason why those prices sometimes go up is because they are not able to fill those seats, and it's because they're not doing enough marketing. If you go, if you're in Zimbabwe right now, you hardly see any Air Zimbabwe advertisements anyway. But if you go to South Africa, or you're just driving around, or you're anywhere, you see South African Airways adverts all over. So I feel like marketing, there has to be a mass marketing to advise and let people know that it's possible to fly. So I feel like that's one of the reasons that people they're not marketing enough. They're not saving enough money to market and give people those kind of prices. Also, the second thing is the type of aircraft that our airlines are using. I feel like for Air Zimbabwe, for example, they're using over 30-year-old aircraft, right, Mr. Bevin?
That's true. That's true.
I believe we are no longer that fuel efficient. So if the companies were to invest in newer aircraft, I know they're expensive, but in the long run, it's going to help them, because it will reduce the cost that you're going to use on fuel. And also, as you were saying, the taxes that the governments are putting on the airlines, it's going to also cause the prices to go up. So I believe there's some things that the airlines can do, like equipment and marketing, to try and get a lot of people flying, because it doesn't make sense to fly for $90 when you can go there for $15. And it's possible, because we see here in Europe, people fly from one country to another for $25. I know they've come a long way and they have a good geographical situation and stuff, but it's possible. I feel like no one, if you tell somebody, even reduce to like maybe $40, it will be maybe reasonable. I don't know. Maybe there are some expenses that we don't know about, but I feel like marketing is very important, because they cannot reach that load factor. So they have to try and make that gap by increasing the prices.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much for bringing that out. But we are not just blaming this. These guys are making moves in the industry. You know, Mr. Baby talked about the infrastructure change that's happening within our industry. So it's going to help and go a long way in taking our industry to the next level. We can even talk about Zimbabwe. The recent smaller aircrafts, the RJ, it's also going to cut their cost on operations, because the smaller routes, they don't need to be using those big beds. They use the smaller beds, more frequencies, gaining more revenue in that way. So they are making moves. And on the market, the benchmark passengers in Zimbabwe, they market their product. Then as Zimbabwe right now, wherever they employed, if we could give him a number, we would do that. That person is working hard in marketing the company, in marketing the airline. Their social media presence, it went from 0 in the past 3 months. it's off the job, it's professional. And it's something that had always been worrying because there was no communication between the public and the airline, right? And incidences a couple of years ago where the airline did not arrive at the departure airport of some individuals, and there's no communication for almost 4 hours, right? But there is technology that can be made, that they can make use of to communicate so close to them for implementing those and moving in the right direction. And I really understand things take time to happen overnight, and the fact that good direction can as well as hope for the best for the future. Then on the aspect of infrastructure development, how can we tap into the potential of the infrastructure that's being built, the new technology being implemented? How can we make use of it to go to the next stage, Mr. Bevin?
Okay. Yes, the infrastructure has been put in place, and is being put in place. I mean, and to go to the next stage, like what Ronald was trying to bring out, you know, the Zimbabwe is using, like you mentioned, Boeing 737. Those aircrafts, they are old, yes, we allude to that, but the maintenance that's being done on those aircraft to make sure that they are in the range of fuel-efficient flights, right? But at the same time, right, to go to the next level, to make tickets cheaper, we need to use aircraft that you know, we need to use the right aircraft for the routes. So meaning that we can't use a Boeing 767, right, to fly to Vic Falls, because before it even starts to cruise, it's already landing. So that there's no fuel efficiency in that, and that's when we see tickets, the prices will keep skyrocketing because we are using aircraft that is not adequate for that route. So yes, as Zimbabwe bought Embraer jets, we are looking for probably smaller ones, like they used to operate the MA60, the turboprop. No, you can operate that one, very fuel efficient for the local routes and everything. So for the next step, we need to utilize our resources, the resources we have. We need to utilize those and place them in the right areas. And in this case, the aircraft to be used should be used for the right routes. If it is a long-range aircraft, don't use it for a local route. If it is a short-range one, then you can use that one for local routes. If they are lacking those small aircraft for the local routes, because we want to boost the local aviation industry, why not purchase small turboprop aircraft, small Cessnas if possible? Though Zimbabwe is a national airline, but we will be talking about numbers too. But yes, buy smaller aircraft, make those tickets cheaper, right? Then at the end of the day, we will see a lot of people flying, because at some point, probably in 2030, we are going to see a ticket to Mutare costing something like $40, like you were saying. Why? Because there will be the proper equipment, proper aircraft flying those routes. So I think that's my take for the next move.
Thank you so much. There's a question here that's saying lack of competition on local routes is conducive for high pricing on travelers. But then if we look at, that's a very fair point. And if we look at it, it's mis-strategy and mismanagement from the airlines themselves. Because at the end of the day, they're killing themselves. They're driving away the demand that they should be getting. Imagine if 90% of Zimbabweans opt to use the road instead of flying, just because you don't have competition and you are raising the prices. And at the end of the day, that's bad strategy altogether. For example, we can talk of the world-renowned airlines, the Lioness. A ticket can go as low as €3, right? That's $5. But they're still making a profit. Why? they're growing the demand. They're catering for every individual, like Mr. Ober said in the beginning. We have to get to a point where every income level can afford to fly. And Mr. Baby, like you rightly said, having the right equipment, because for 767, you can't be charging $20 per flight to Victoria Falls. It doesn't make sense because the number of crew required, the fuel required, the aircraft itself, the maintenance, the cost of operating it is already high before we get off the ground. But when we have the smaller aircraft, it goes there. But here's the problem now with Zimbabweans. Zimbabweans think Cessnas are not aircrafts. If you have been on our Zimbabwean social media groups, the moment Zimbabwe bought that ARJ, people were fighting us. Why are you fighting? That's a very good move.
Exactly.
But I think it comes into the education that the people in Zimbabwe have to know. A turboprop is an aircraft. You know, there are latest turboprops in the market right now. You know, Airbus right now is even going back to turboprops from engines, you know, from jet engines. So I think that's conscious education of the populace also will help them understand where we are trying to take the country. That guys, we can't be using an A380 to fly to Victoria Falls. Doesn't make sense. We need, you know, a caravan or something like that, because that's what we can use to those destinations. So I think that education will also go a long way. Now, I want to talk about Zimbabwe just a little bit before we go to the last part of our conversation today. Zimbabwe has been struggling for a lot, and kind of gave us a brief history of why it might be struggling from there, from when it took over from British Air to Air Zimbabwe, the economic sanctions, the economic collapse, and also what people, I think, have to understand is because of all those processes, there's a lot of baggage that has been inherited that they are still dealing with. So how can Air Zimbabwe, in a strategic way, what lessons can they learn from the likes of Air South African Airways or Zambian Airways? As Zimbabweans, are we too proud to let our airline shut down for a little while so that we can regroup? Or we want the status quo to go ahead as it is? Ms. Nyasha.
Yeah, I think if we could get the right people in the leadership positions to be able to make the right decisions, and just a revamping of a mindset, even for the employees within Air Zimbabwe themselves, and also us as a country as a whole, so we can actually start trusting the airline again. And also for it, maybe to even partner with these small airplanes, small operators that are flying to Mutare, Kariba, Vic Falls, then they can even do those small feeder routes, you know, in that fare which they charge. They can actually just start doing those feeder routes to work together so the community itself can grow together. These new operators as well as Air Zimbabwe, because now it's like it's starting afresh. So if it's able to actually just partner with these new operators that are coming in place, they can actually grow together and take the market together, as well as also taking new people in who've been out of the country, maybe who've seen other things with a different perspective, to actually just get in there and maybe even just have a revamp, a young department which can actually just bring new ideas in and help.
Thank you for taking us to the question. But before we go there, Mr. Ronald, briefly, what do you think then from there, Mr. Pep, and then we'll go on to the next part of our discussion.
All right. The lessons that we're learning from Zambian Airways and South Africa, but I would like to use Zambian as an example of what Air Zimbabwe should do. So what Zambian Airlines is doing is they sold I think 49% of their stake to Ethiopian Airlines, which is a really good move because Ethiopian Airlines is the biggest airline in Africa in terms of fleet size, in terms of passengers carried throughout the year. So if they have the backing of Ethiopian Airlines, they're going to definitely succeed. And the strategy they are also using is they're going to start by operating domestic routes. So for Air Zimbabwe, it will be like they'll be operating to Mutare, Victoria Falls, Blawayo, Mashingo. You start with those domestic routes, and then after establishing domestic routes, then you move on to the regional routes. For example, you now be flying to maybe Cape Town, Johannesburg, Blantyre, Nairobi, those regional routes, and then maybe you can now think of going international. So I think that's one of the biggest lessons. If we could get maybe another airline, a huge airline, because it happens all over. I think it also happened with Rwandan Airlines. Qatar, they bought a stake in them. Now they are helping them move forward. As well as in Europe, you'd see the Lufthansa Group. It has like, I think, 5 or 6 subsidiaries, which include Eurowings, Swiss, I think. So you see, it's a strategy that's been there for a long time, and we have to make use of it as Zimbabwean Airlines if we could find, because we need that financial backing, because the government is not always going to be there for you. So if you have the backing of a huge airline, I don't know in the long run if it would be that profitable for Zimbabwe, but I believe in the short run it would create employment and awareness all over. So that's the biggest lesson we can learn from Zambian Airlines, and we'll see how it progresses. I think they recently just opened on 1 December, if I'm not mistaken, or late November. So I feel like it's a story that as Zimbabweans we should follow and see how they are progressing. They are progressing through. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bevin.
Okay, before I give my comments concerning way forward, I think I really need to commend Air Zimbabwe for the work they've been doing throughout this COVID era. They've been, it has been flying, repatriating citizens and also citizens of other nations, like taking them back home, and also acquiring vaccines from those from Europe and other areas. It's a really good job they did, and it's something that we cannot ignore, especially noting that South African Airways was not operating and Zambian Airlines was not operating. So I think that's something that those guys have to learn from Zimbabwe. Like when it comes to serving the nation, the airline has to do all it can, even though if it's in a dire situation, they have to do something to save the citizens. But moving on, for Zimbabwe to develop, we need that airline to start doing collaborations. Like, for example, I can give you an example of ComAir. ComAir was selling tickets, but the tickets were being like the ComAir was being operated by British Airways. We need something like that. We to boost our marketing. Like we sell tickets to probably UK, right, and other European cities, but they will be operated with other aircraft, other airlines. I mean, so yes, it's something that we really need to do. And from the engineering perspective, I think there is need for Air Zimbabwe to acquire equipment, from the safety equipment to equipment that's used to operate the aircraft they acquired, because right now they have a Boeing 777. I think 2 of them, they have Airbus A380. But for the airline to move forward, I think there is need for equipment to service those aircraft, to maintain those aircraft from their base, and stop like exporting funds. Like we're paying other airlines to service our Airbuses, which is not something that is very good. So if we are a self-sustainable airline as Zimbabwe, it's going to make a huge difference in the operations of Air Zimbabwe from now going forward.
Thank you so much. I think you all rightfully say that there is work that needs to be done, but we cannot take away from the good work the airline is also currently doing. There is for our airline. It's not that bad. Certain needs to be done. Certain strategies need to be put in place. Certain policies that also talk our domestic market also have to be put in place so that our own airlines can grow and also can benefit. Because we can't have our own airlines flying twice, thrice, or 4 times a day when international airlines are flying so many times into our destination. So we need to help our airlines as well. And another thing, from the cost sharing and all that, I believe it's a strategy that Zimbabwe also has to take into consideration. Because let's look at South African Airways. They are, what can I say, they connect us to the rest of the world literally right now. Because if I'm flying, for example, I wanted to come to Zimbabwe, and no local airline had a connecting agreement with any international airlines during the COVID period. So many people would get either stranded in South Africa or stranded at their departure locations. Why? Because there wasn't a connecting agreement with, let's say, Emirates, let's say Turkish Airlines, Etihad, Qatar, or any of these airlines that are going into the main hub of Southern Africa, which is OR Tambo International. So we need those strategies put into place as well. And it will go better for the airline, because the tourists that are coming from the UK, instead of them going on BA Come, they can just hop next onto Air Zimbabwe. There's nothing that can stop Air Zimbabwe from doing that. You know, instead of going on to, let's say, South African Airways, they can go straight on to FastJet. You know, so I think there's so many policies that have to be implemented. Then before we move on to the next stage, I just have a question. I'll just ask the three of you, can give me a yes or no answer. Is FastJet truly a low-cost airline? Miss Nyasha, what's your opinion, yes or no?
Yes.
She says yes. Ronald, is FastJet a low-cost airline, yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, I'm seeing some hesitance on these yeses. Mr. Bevin, can you give me a confident yes or no?
No.
Thank you very much.
No.
It is a low-cost airline on paper, honestly. I won't take that away from them, but their pricing strategy, you can't be a low-cost airline whilst you're operating at the same pricing strategy with a legacy airline like Air Zimbabwe. That doesn't exist. So I don't know whether it's those factors we're talking about, the local factors, that make our airlines so expensive to the extent that our low cost is $100 and above.
Yeah,
you know,
you see.
whilst in other countries it's $50 and what and below.
Sorry,
So I think there's a lot. Yes.
I think FastJet sells its tickets. It tells you that the lowest ticket is $100, for example, but the ticket add-ons will take you close to the Air Zimbabwe ticket. So
It's much expensive.
How can FastJet price its tickets at the same level with Air Zimbabwe? I don't think Air Zimbabwe is a national airline, and the marketing strategy, I mean the business strategies of these two are different. So I don't know why they end up having tickets close or even much more expensive than Air Zimbabwe tickets.
Their fares are usually low, but then now when you add the departure fee,
yes, the
and
add-ons,
the tax, that's when it gets to be high. But it's fair. It's actually quite reasonable. It's that departure fee. It's not on them.
Sorry.
I think what we're all calling for. Yes, Ronald?
Sorry, I was looking for a ticket for my friend this other day, and I saw prices as high as $300. I'm not lying, guys. From Harare to
that's
Johannesburg.
true.
And also, I have a question. I hope one of you can answer me. As I was looking for the prices, I noticed something very strange. A direct flight was way cheaper than a flight with many stops, like 1 or 2 stops. I can you help me understand that? Because in essence, a direct flight is supposed to be the most expensive than a flight with many stops. But for these airlines that fly in Zimbabwe, if it's going to pass through Lawayo or Vic Falls before it reaches Harare from anywhere in South Africa, it's going to cost you more. Why is that?
I think the reason to what we're talking about the policies that are in place right now. For example, what we have raised earlier of the airport taxes, right? So if they are going to land somewhere before they get to their destination, the cost has already gone high. Right? So at the end of the day, a direct flight is cheaper than a flight with stoppages. You see, so I think what we are saying is the policymakers, cars, airports, Company of Zimbabwe, the airlines, the transport ministry, the tourism ministry, these guys have to sit down and come up with a good plan that promotes both our industries. Because at the end of the day, our airlines will be sabotaged by other airlines that have financial backing to overgo the costs that are in Zimbabwe. So we need our airlines to grow, but the only way that's going to happen is if we put policies that support our own local airlines to grow. So moving forward now, we're going to talk about the sensitive topic that affects all of us as young people. We want to contribute in our country's aviation industry, but we are seeing ourselves looking for jobs elsewhere, contributing in so many other different parts of the world. And yet we don't have the opportunity to do that in our country. Why is it there's a lack of professional young aviators in our country, especially in departments like management, operations, right? The decision-making departments as well. And by this, don't get me wrong, by the viewers, don't get me wrong on this. I'm not saying young people should take over. I'm saying we should have a grooming strategy, which goes on to Mr. Bevin's statement of all time, generationally thinking about the future of our industry. How can we groom our young people so that the next generation of aviators is inspired, is equipped with the right tools and knowledge and experience, and empowered so that when these guys retire, we are able to carry over. But right now, there's lack of experience in those. The industries you find young people in the aviation industry is either in the blue collar jobs, right? We're talking of passenger handling, we're talking of ground handling, and aeronautical engineering with a high base job, employment because of certain policies that they like apprenticeships by Air Zimbabwe, which give young people an opportunity to contribute to the airline. But beyond that, how can we get more young people involved in the industry? Because at the end of the day, as Flight Wings Aviation, African Leaders in Aviation, ADA, any other aviation organization, right, we're encouraging young people to get into the industry, but they have to go somewhere after their education. What's the reason why we don't have young people in the aviation industry and having to go and contribute elsewhere? I'll start with Ms. Nyasha. I know you are very well versed on this one.
Well, I think for us in our country, the problem is the retirement age. I guess it doesn't arrive, and the airline, you'd know that at 65, someone has to retire and all. But in most of our departments, people are not reaching that whatever retirement age it's supposed to be. So at the end, we've got that bottleneck. Lots of people are in the low posts and they actually just don't go on top. But I think we need to keep proving ourselves. Platforms like Flight Wings Aviation, you're actually grooming people to be their own. And I think more young people should take up entrepreneurship, come up with ideas wherever they are all over the world, start their own things there. Prove yourself, grow from there. I think we'll get to a point where we ourselves will be recognized. As much as we keep on campaigning, inspiring, talking, doing all these outreach projects, we're going to get to a point where the policymakers themselves, at some point, they're going to, look for you people look for Ngoni, look for these people asking, how can we go forward? Because we're at that point where about 60% of the youth in Africa is age 25 and below. So this means in the coming years, the youth are the ones who are going to be in control. It's going to be the majority of the population. The digital world, we can't run away from it. It's coming. So I think we should just keep on as the youth preparing ourselves for that time because it's coming. So yeah, let's keep on doing what we're doing. That point is going to come when your door is going to be knocked. You'll be asked, do you have any mentees? Do you have any? Then they can come up to those places. We should also just keep empowering ourselves, educating ourselves, get the experience where we can get it, so that when the time comes to take up those positions, we'll be ready. Thank you.
Awesome. Mr. Ronald, I know we talked about this a lot of times when we were starting during our university years. What's your take on this?
I think, Ngoni, you have to organize an interview with one of these guys who happen to be in power right now and ask them for yourself, why aren't you hiring young people? Because it's true. When I was doing my internship, there was this gentleman. He was saying he's just hanging in there until his son grows up and he can leave the job to him. So, and it's very true. I'm not lying. So you can see, it's up to them. We can still keep doing what we're doing, like right now, inspiring and empowering ourselves. But ultimately, it's up to them to try and include people like us who are passionate and interested in seeing that the aviation industry to prosper.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bevan. You were a youngster yourself in the industry. How do you see the difference in the number of young people being given the opportunity to contribute compared to the veterans that are in the industry at the moment?
Okay, yeah, like I said earlier, the aviation industry, it's something that people out there think that it's a luxury. Like like what Flight Wings Aviation is doing. We need such initiatives where we conscientize the youth, the ones that are going up the ranks of education, to tell them that aviation is just like any other industry, and it needs people with passion and the drive to transform the aviation industry into something great, like the Zimbabwean aviation industry. We need to be more innovative. We need to like what Ronald was saying. The airlines and the aviation companies should employ young people, because now this generation is quite different from the in my own words, I say the analog generation. They are not thinking in the digital way. They are not thinking in the artificial intelligence way. They are not implementing new strategies, new ways of engineering, new ways of management, and all. So we need such initiatives like what Flight Wings Aviation is doing. Conscientize the youth, give them the drive, expose them to the other aviation industries out there. Like organize some interactive sessions with young aviators in America, young aviators in Europe, because at the end of the day, it's the exposure. Because if you are confined to Zimbabwe, you still think that whatever is happening in Zimbabwe, that's all there is, right? And you won't even think bigger. So I am saying that it's the awareness, it's the nurturing of the youth that is going to see the aviation industry changing, and the stakeholders that are involved should welcome the young people into the structures, even if they are the youngest or at the bottom level of the structures. It's fine. Their ideas are going to be heard one day. Our ideas, to be specific. So I think that's what I have to say.
Thank you so much for explaining those points. I believe as young people, we need to be given the opportunity to be in the industry. Like Mr. Bevan, it doesn't matter if we're at the bottom of the structure. But what we're going to do is learn from the wisdom of those that have been holding our side for so long. Because we need their wisdom every day. I have my new ways of doing things, but without their wisdom, I won't be able to do the same job as they are. So we need those opportunities to be given young people. So they, you know, I'm just an advocate before a professional aviator. I watched all the documentaries that have to do with aviation, and one of them was British airports. A young 25-year-old man, I saw a young 25-year-old man being given the responsibility of managing an entire terminal. Why?
Awesome.
They are thinking beyond 10 years from now. Because they know if you groom them young, in 10, 20 years, that's going to be the airport manager. Because he's rising through the ranks with the responsibilities bit by bit until they get to the top. But we're having a situation now that we have veterans in the industry and no young people being brought through their paces so that they can understand how our industry works. And at the end of the day, so happens that they retire, who is going to take over from them? So I believe young people have to be brought into the industry. As Flight Wings Aviation, African Leaders for Aviation will continue to inspire and equip young people, give them the exposure they need, you know, in the various departments that are there in aviation, the various opportunities they have in aviation. We always say aviation is a world of possibilities. When you think you know every career in aviation, you are surprised the next morning learning there's a new profession in aviation you didn't know about. That's how big our aviation industry is. And Ms. Nyash also mentioned the future of us being entrepreneurs, us thinking of new ways of contributing to the industry. We had a lady Kokeli the previous weeks. She's doing humanitarian. That's her way of contributing to the industry, right? We have drone pilots. Drones are becoming the new tech in aviation, right? We need more young people going towards that as well. So it's a broad industry. We need to give these young people the exposure. You know, with COVID-19, I know the airports and airlines usually all closed so that they can have a view of what's going on in the industry. But we need more of that so that our young people can be interested and be inspired to join the industry. So I believe this is the end of our discussion, and I hope our viewers enjoyed the episode and enjoyed the conversations we were having. In conclusion, Ms. Nyasha, what's the take you're going to give people to go away with?
I think we should unite as Zimbabweans. Let's be positive. Let's support each other. Let's support our aviation industry. I hope policymakers will be able to watch this and actually think about the pricing for our tickets so everyone is able to afford the tickets and actually get to travel and see our beautiful country. And more young people to take up roles in the aviation field, especially drone technology. It's a whole ecosystem on its own, and be the entrepreneurs. And let's groom ourselves to take over because we are the future. Thank you very much for having me, Ngoni.
Mr. Ronald, what's your take?
Right. My message is to the youth of Zimbabwe, not just the aviation industry, but any other industry. I'm just going to say, let us just keep our heads high. Things will get better, and we'll definitely get the opportunity to use the experience and the exposure we are getting from all over to help build our different industries in Zimbabwe. And thank you very much, Ngoni, for having me. And I just want to say you're doing a wonderful job, you and your team. I really enjoy watching your channel and everything that you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Mr. Bevan,
in
conclusion.
All right. I can only say to all the youths out there, there is no one who is going to come and work for you. You're going to work for yourself to get to the top, be it in the aviation industry, be it in any industry that you're in. You are the only person who is there to work for you. And also as a statement that I always say to all aviation enthusiasts is that the sky is warm. So yeah, you'd rather join the aviation industry. So thank you, Flight Wings Aviation, and Ngoni for having us today. It was good sharing with you what we have.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. It was an honor having the three of you on this special episode of The Big Sky. And to the young aviators that like you had it for yourself from these three amazing young aviators, showing you that they made it and you can as well. There's nothing stopping you. The sky is not even the limit. There's space as revenue, tell you. And beyond that, there's something else. So there's no limit in aviation. You just have to find your place and everything will work well for you. So as the day goes on, we still have other programs that are running. We have Miss Pink coming up. We have Captain Robert. He's still gonna come up. We had it earlier in the day. He's still has another segment. And in the evening, join me and the aviation crew as we're gonna be talking flight wings, what we offer, who we are, and how we can help you start your journey in aviation. And as well, announcing three amazing young people, our top three young aviators of 2021. From us and my amazing guests, thank you for joining us, and it's bye for now.